Welcome to this episode of From the Horsebox, which motored up to London on the 19th of November for the Farmers' March. This We Just Want to Feed You protest was a roller coaster of an event. The following interviews cover a range of viewpoints on a day when emotions and adrenaline levels were high. The first is with Richard Blackburn, Cheshire dairy farmer and former NFU county chairman, who can take you into the heart of what is going on. Good morning, Richard. Thank you very much for agreeing to give your time this interview. I'm here with Richard Blackburn at his farm at Baddeley near Nantwich. You've had an exceptionally busy week, Richard, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd say that definitely. The number of WhatsApps and that sort of thing we've been receiving about this all, the 19th took a lot of planning.
It did.
And hopefully we got there.
Well, 20,000 plus farmers and supporters in Westminster was a very serious event. And I don't think that it's just a farmer drama. It's very serious and involves the wider general public as well as the farmers. And I'd really like to know what your experience was of the day when you got down to London. What did you do? Yeah,
well, first of all, I'd like to say that, I didn't want to go to London. I'd much prefer it if we didn't have to go. But when needs must, you have to do these things. So, the day, there'd been a lot of confusion on what the day was going to entail. The NFU had organised this mass lobby for 1,800 people in Church House at Westminster. They felt that they couldn't do any more than that. But the mass lobby, we ended up speaking to over 200 MPs, and we've had some good responses. My own particular MP, Aoife Brandreth, in Edinburgh, has been fantastic. She's all over this. And we had a meeting in Parliament, about 20 of us, up in the 1922 committee room, I think it was. And there was some heartfelt messages put across to her. But she's so on board with all this. She's been brilliant. Not only on this matter, but also the mental health side of farming as well.
That's a very serious issue that's already being affected. I mean, you say there are a lot of good speeches and a lot of people who are understanding about the issue, but looking at the media coverage, there's a lot of people who are talking an ideology that is not going to help the food industry and the farming. I mean, who did speak really well in that meeting?
In the lobby meeting, well, it was mainly Tom Bradshaw, who's his first speech of the day, apparently. I'll be honest, I never made it to that because we were in the Houses of Parliament with Aoife. Talking to people from the NFU, he said he did a brilliant job and he put the passion into it and a lot of facts. And sometimes the facts can be hard to find. But,
and who was listening to that from our opposition? Who would be listening to that? Steve Reid, who...
I don't think he'd be there.
Really?
I think he'd be keeping his head down.
So didn't you have anybody from the government in those meetings?
There would have been. We all had MP meetings. Like I said, I didn't go into those. So, which Labour MPs are actually there, I do not know. But there'd be all MPs from all other parties in there, definitely. So they know the score anyway. They know the facts. They know where we're coming from with this. And they also know we won't let this lie. And the Labour MPs that we have spoken to inside Parliament, I think it's a difficult time this time because there's more new MPs gone into Parliament than ever before. Obviously, a lot of them Labour, with them having such a big majority. They had to listen because we had this lobby. They did listen. They're worried about, with it being a new government and perhaps them being the first time MPs, how far they can take this. At the end of the day, they've got a career to get out of it. But also at the end of the day, they've got to get elected again in 4 or 5 years' time. And if they're in a rural constituency, the chance of that happening is very slim. We won't forget this.
It's going to cause a lot of bitterness that wouldn't be forgotten. What is it that Labour does not understand about farming? What is it in a nutshell?
Well, where do we start with that one? There's that many different things involved in all this that a friend of mine said it's like a conspiracy theory against farming that Labour seem hell-bent on confirming at every possible opportunity. You know, they're talking 20% reduction on dairy, 20% reduction on meat, and they go from the carbon emissions and that side of things. But, you know, there's other facts, even Arla, one of the biggest dairy companies in the world, say these facts aren't right that they're using. And we're at zero now. So, you know, whose figures do you believe? And some of the figures from our national press, the BBC, they seem to be, well, you just pull your hair out at times.
This is the nub of it, isn't it? The evidence. In the crowd, the whole of the crowd, 20,000 plus, were asked to raise of hands who would it affect, who would it not affect, and the clear evidence from the people there. They don't seem to care that the figures don't add up. This is the hollow truth.
Yeah, we will get to the bottom of this, and I know quite a bit of what the NFU are doing at the moment. We're trying to keep a powder dry on that, and there's certain things that will be announced within a couple of weeks. But the NFU figures, they should be out any time. It's probably taken a bit too long, but it's been hard to get off the government or the Treasury where their figures actually came from. You know, there was some guy the other day in the media, and he got his hectares and acres mixed up. You know, and if it's something simple like that,
yes,
I'm sure that that was just one guy. But the Treasury, it's what do you define as a working farm? And it's these family farms that are going to be impacted. Family farms like my own, where my granddad was a blacksmith and he took the farm on. He always wanted to farm, so he bought this place where we're at now after being at a couple of other farms. And he just wanted to grow the farm. So we've borrowed money throughout the years. And then when my dad took it over, he did the same. I've done the same. And it's always been with borrowed money. It's not that we've had a stash of money to go out and buy land. So it's almost...
This is the betrayal, isn't it? This is the betrayal part of it.
You look at it now and you think, why did we bother? But, we will, I'm sure something will come of this. They can't ignore this. No way.
Well, I'm heartened to hear you say that, because the public need to understand that they're looking at a very hollow future of where their food is going to be produced when the farming is destroyed in the UK.
I mean, a lot of people have seen that Labour tax guy saying, we don't need small farms. That's so hard to hear. And where he's coming from with that. We're going to do to the farmers what Maggie Thatcher did to the coal miners. It's hurtful.
Yeah.
But
I'm interested to hear what you just said about there are things in the pipeline. This is what I'm wondering, how much of that you're allowed to share to give people some sort of something to cling on to. But what is the next plan?
Well, the sort of the NFU, I'll only give it from the NFU's response at the moment. They wanted the mass lobby where 1,800 people went into Church House and then went on to speak to their MPs. The protests, soon as the media and people heard about this, it sort of became a rally. Which wasn't the intention. The intention was to sort of do the mass lobby, then perhaps have a rally later on. But, these things, momentum gathered. And I personally think it was a great day, not only for farmers, but for the public as well. They're so much on board with this.
I think you do see the public on board, but also you do see people who still don't understand. I mean, how do we continue to educate the public on their best interest, which is their food and their health, the health of people who, are either going to eat natural food or they are headed for a wasteland of robotic agri-tech, which won't be in anybody's interest health-wise or NHS-wise.
Well, to start off with, it is a very difficult message to get across. If you're, living in an inner city and you hear someone saying, we only get relief on the first million and then we're going to have to pay tax. Yeah. That's a hard message to put across. But we're doing our best with that.
Yes.
The food side, we all know that the food we produce in this country, it's from the highest animal health and welfare standards in the world, one of the highest, I should say. We try and do it right. We try and look after the environment with this as well. It's purely that message. But then the message that Labour tax guy said, well, we can just import it. Well, you're importing food. Is it at the same standard? I haven't got a problem with imports as long as they're produced at the same standard.
Well, the United Nations document called the Agricultural Working Report for Food and Farming is a global plan for the future of farming, which does not include family farms or handing family farms down, it says in the report. There's also another document called the Absolute Zero document, which actually intends to stop shipping and air. It closed down Heathrow and Gatwick by 2030 or 2050. So where is our food security, in this plan?
Yeah, well, I can't see it's in that plan, is it?
No, it isn't.
No.
It isn't in the plan. And this is, the alternative, and this is why it's such an important issue that we need public support for.
I think we're yet to see what will, if they do stick to this APR and BPR plan, we're yet to see what will happen with land values on that. Or if family farms do have to sell off land to pay this tax, if it does happen, what will happen to that land? Will that be bought up by big multinational companies that use for either carbon washing, or will it be used for mega farms? A few years ago there was a Nocton dairy. We were wanting to build an 8,000 cow unit, and the whole public were against it. So either the public want family farms or they don't. So my belief is they do. They love to see cows outside, but these mega dairies, I shouldn't say that really, because some of the cows that are fully housed are some of the best looked after. There's no difference. Cows.
You've got to have a diversity, haven't you? What we're saying is we cannot have a monoculture. We cannot have swathes of prairie farming. That's not good for our gut health or biodiversity or,
Yeah. And one woman I sat by on the train, she was from non-farming and she was all over this, and she was so supportive. It was humbling, really. And she was saying, have a look what's happening in America. Just have a look at it. I haven't had a chance to visit that yet. But, I will. We'll see what's going on. And if this is
Indiana, she'd been talking about Indiana, where there's large tracts of land laid to soya and corn growing, farmed with drones. Never had a human being near it,
Yeah. I mean, that technology will come. I mean, there will be spraying done by drones over here. You can't hold back. All these things evolve, don't they? And, some people are against robotic milkers at one point. They're a fantastic thing, particularly with the Labour situation as we have it at the moment. Labour for work, I mean, not the government. So a lot of these things do have a place, and we should explore them. But ultimately, we've got to provide what the public want and do it in a way that they want.
Yes.
But in a way that is sustainable for us as well.
Yeah, public support is going to be essential in this, and they've got to see we need a human food for human beings.
Definitely. But down at the rally, I mean, the rally was so great. Like I said, I was in Parliament. I didn't get a chance to see the speeches there, but the support there, and the farmers, we all well, a lot of us took down food donations. I think they had, was it 6.6 tonnes of food?
Yeah.
City Harvest said it's
Van
the biggest.
after van of load of fresh produce.
City Harvest said it's been the biggest donation. I forget how many meals they said it was going to do, but, it was unbelievable. One guy I was talking to, he went to make a donation, but he couldn't find the place to do it. So he found there was a homeless guy there. So he actually gave this homeless guy the food parcel that he took along. And this guy went through it checking whether it was all vegetarian or not. He's a homeless guy and he has his beliefs and he's entitled to them. But, at the end of the day, it's British food and we'll feed whoever with top quality stuff.
No, the food bank was absolutely terrific, and perhaps it was a little bit underreported in some quarters in the media. Yeah. What did you think of the media coverage in general? Have you got any view on who helped and who hindered?
I think the media coverage, well, they couldn't ignore it. Sometimes they play about with the figures. The BBC said there was 10,000 people there. Some people put it way up over 20,000. Now, where the march was supposed to be held, which the police stopped because of the numbers, they've had 20,000 do that before, but the police stopped this. So looking at those figures, you'd say, yeah, there must have been more than that.
Well, 20,000 registered, didn't they, to go, and the huge numbers were well cameraed.
Yeah.
And it's all over social media, TikTok, everywhere.
So there's a lot of people wanting to gain a bit of coverage from this. Nigel Farage sort of parading himself to the front. I'm sure he would have liked to have got on the stage, but this, we can't have that. But then Clarkson was there. He said his bit on the stage, and he's been fantastic for farming in general, raising the public awareness. Some of that, admittedly, you have to get it so that people watch the programme. So he does make a bit of an idiot of himself. So whether that tars us all with the same brush, I don't know. But and he did an interview. What was a BBC reporter?
Victoria Derbyshire.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think he came across over well on that. And, perhaps the fact that he bought the farm, he's freely admitted this in the past, that he bought the farm to escape tax. He's not the one to be spearheading our campaign. Yeah. As good as he is. I do like the guy. And I've watched the programmes, but...
he did make it clear he was there to support, as rather than be an example to be held up. Yeah. And he did put heart into the crowd who waited and waited all those hours in the sleet to hear him.
I think that was the great thing with Ollie Harrison and his team, Martin Williams, getting all them together, and it gave a sort of focal point for all those who wanted to go down.
The speeches were amazing.
Yeah. And it was all tidied up after the police. The police, you can come every week.
Yeah.
And they were so supportive when Ollie first got in touch with him. It was them that offered. They said, "Do you want us to shut Whitehall?" It was the police that offered that. So, that's a great thing. So
I think they were having a very happy day. What sort of measures could be taken to, show a next stage of protest?
Yeah, well, the NFU got a lot of things in the pipeline. We're trying to do it so that it's not just one hit, that it's released and it's a continued attack on this diabolical policy. There's been a lot of other things spoken about, like blocking motorway junctions and that side of things. And we all know, you've got to keep the public with you. You've got to keep the public on your side. And the Just Stop Oil protests, no one likes them. I don't see that it's getting them anywhere. So that's not the way forward, in my mind, anyway. There's also talk, possibly a lot of farmers there's 4 million tonnes of human sewage sludge each year get spread onto land. Now, farmers take that, the nutrients are there, it's good for the ground. But, if we didn't take that, apparently London has got about a week's storage.
So that is an option, is it, that?
Everything's an option, but we've got to do it the right way. So, and we will. We'll get it right, hopefully.
To conclude, Richard, this morning I did hear there were several Labour MPs beginning to question the figures to their own party to find out what is really going on. And you say you also spotted some backbench questions amongst the Labour Party.
Yes, well, we had our Cheshire NFU AGM yesterday where Tom Bradshaw came up and spoke. He did look extremely tired. I think he'd had a very, very busy few weeks. But and he reported there that the backbenches were starting to creak. So perhaps there is people, they've got to question the figures. They can't deny that, this needs looking at. And we're absolutely positive that we'll be on the right side of those figures. What constitutes a small farm, a family farm? They've just got it so wrong.
Do you think the NFU will provide the leadership going forward to stand firm and to give everybody something to follow?
100%. 100%. I've never been prouder at the moment to be a member of the NFU and to represent the NFU. I think the work they're doing on this, we won't let our members down. No way. And not all farmers are members, but we'll be fighting for them. And I'm sure that we'll definitely get some movement on this.
And we'll all be looking for public support on this because our food and our future is what's at stake here.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Richard, very much.
Okay, thank you.
The next two interviews are two short pieces recorded on the day from Ollie Skinner, who is from a family farm, and Sarah Taylor, a well-informed Londoner with a family farming history. Bear with Sarah, it was freezing cold that day.
What do you think of the rally today?
I think it's incredible, and I think it's absolutely amazing that we've all come together to fight for something. I think it's terrible what Keir Starmer's doing, and ultimately, without us, without the farming community, there's nothing. There's no food, there's no life, so it's an incredible thing.
What's your name and where's your farm?
I'm Ollie Skinner, and our farm's in Harrogate in Yorkshire.
The real deal.
Yeah, real deal. I've got my wellies on in central London.
How many people do you think are here?
Well, they said there's about 40,000 people, but it goes from Parliament Square right down to Trafalgar Square. So there'll be lots of people there.
Have you seen any tractors?
No tractors. In fact, I saw one, but I think they blocked them at the M25.
Did you hear the speeches?
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson's was amazing. And I also liked Ed, I can't remember his name, from Lib Dem. He was very good. I loved it.
Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you.
I'm standing here opposite the Houses of Parliament with Sarah Taylor. We're just discussing the farmers' march that we've just both been on in the freezing rain. Sarah, what were your thoughts on what you've just seen and the speeches? What did you think of it all?
I thought it was very encouraging, but I'm worried about the bigger concern. Not enough to say that government isn't listening. I think it's a deliberate policy. There's a bigger question here. They are out to destroy farming, to destroy the food chain, to drive us off the land. I think this is, that is their objective.
So you don't think it's that they don't know, you think it's a deliberate move?
I think they're perfectly well right. Yes, I do think it's deliberate. It's all been done by subterfuge. But yes, drive us off the land. World Economic Forum policy. We will own nothing and be happy.
Does Bill Gates' connection have anything to do with what you're thinking?
Yes, that he's one of the global elites, immensely powerful, supposedly a philanthropist. I don't think he's a philanthropist at all. I think he's a sociopath. They are so powerful and have so much money that they've lost all sense of have no moral compass. They can literally do anything. So they're introducing all these globalist policies to destroy our independence, destroy our sovereignty, controlled by a handful of immensely powerful people.
Do you think that, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes?
I don't think we do. And maybe what I'm saying is exaggerated because we don't know enough, but there's sufficient reason to be very suspicious. I don't think governments are acting freely and independently. It's all controlled by lobby groups, vested interests.
Do you think we've got any chance here? There must be upwards of 20,000 people here. Do you think we've got any chance at all?
I like to think so.
Well, it'd be very interesting to see what the coverage is like, because obviously they are intending to pursue a campaign. It would be interesting to see how this progresses, because there was a lot of emotional speeches today, very emotional speeches within the crowd and within the speakers.
Indeed. When we look at what happened over the American election, we were led to believe by the media that it was a neck-and-neck thing. And although I was slightly ashamed of myself for supporting Trump, I wanted him to win because I think he's a lesser of two evils. I think his policies were much better. Didn't have any policies, but we were told right up until the last minute, it's really, really close thing.
And yet it was an absolute landslide.
Yeah, and we wouldn't hear the result for a week because we wanted to know what to go. Overnight landslide. So that just shows that the media were not giving us the true picture.
No.
So it's so hard
That'll be
to
really interesting to
know.
see how the media cover today.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening, and please share with your friends, which helps a lot. And I look forward to next month when it could be you in the driving seat.